YouTube. Today we are making a delicious pot roast. Right now I am just shaving some carrots because I will be putting them in the bottom of the crock pot for this pot roast. It's going to be super delicious, just fall apart meat. The recipe is simple and easy, but it is to die for. It is so good. And with delicious veggies like red potatoes and golden potatoes and orange carrots, you can't beat that. Some people would like to add celery to it. I'm not a big celery fan. It's really fibrous for me. The fibers get stuck in my teeth and it's just not something I'm really into. But if you are a celery fan, by all means, add celery to this. You could also add zucchini to it. You could add all sorts of stuff. I hope you can see me in there in the camera. Right now, that's the crock pot I'll be using. It's a little deeper than the one I'm used to, but I'm hoping it should cook in just about the same amount of time. Now, this recipe calls for some ranch seasoning mix or Italian mix. I guess it depends on what kind of spices you like. I really go with the ranch because it's really tasty. The dry mix, of course. And then some homemade gravy, but you could also buy some gravy in a can. Or you could buy gravy that is, you know, what was I going to say? Oh, in a jar. Now first I cut off both ends of the carrot. You want a nice knife like this one because it's super duper sharp and carrots are hard, tough, and heavy. And then you can just, you know, cut them up. This doesn't, oh, there goes one carrot. It doesn't really matter. Let me get that carrot up off the fire. It doesn't really matter, you know, the size or length or whatever. This one carrot is kind of big and fat. So I might end up cutting him in half, long ways like this. And then, you know, doing something quick like that. But you know, it is good to have different sizes of the veggies. Give it a little bit of texture. Give it a little bit of, you know, difference. But you don't want them too big because you do want them to cook. And this fatter part I'm going to cut in half as well. So I do want them to cook. Now it's going to be a couple hours in the crock pot before this is done. Now let's see, I've got all these carrots. I'm going to go ahead and put some in the crock pot right now. Which is over here because I've got so many. Not going to have room for the rest of them. Whoops, and I dropped one on the cutting board. So, let's get the rest of these carrots cut. This is going to be so good. You know, I've been craving this for a while. It's really good protein. I even got a nice juicy roast. A little fatty. The roast is a little fatty. I might cut some fat off it. But you know what? That's one of the great things about cooking something in a crock pot. You want the fat because the fat's going to bring out all the flavor and all the juiciness. It's really going to add to the dish, to this dish. It's going to make it 10 times better. Now that we've got our carrots in there, I've also got some red potatoes and some golden potatoes. You want to wash your potatoes. It's not that big of a deal. It depends on if you're going to skin them, but you also want to get all the eyes out of the potatoes. That's really good for, you know, they're just not good to eat. The eyes are those little whole things. Now, if you have an awesome thing like this, it has the eye taker outer at the same time that it has the skinner. Now, I guess it just depends on your personal preference. Some people don't like having the skin on their potatoes. I personally do like the skin on the potatoes. Gives you extra fiber, and it's extra flavor, I think, and extra color in your dish. Especially if you're having guests over, which I sadly am not for this dish. This is me and the baby are eating this. Whoop, there goes some potato. All by ourselves. But I have invited some people over, so maybe we will get some guests over. We don't know. But the nice color that it adds to the dish is nice and vibrant. Especially if you're presenting this dish as, like, you know, for the family or showpiece. This is a great dish for holidays. This is a really great dish for, like, a big group of people. And it's also just because everybody's going to love it. It tastes so good. I mean, it is just one of the best recipes I have ever had the pleasure of cooking. And it's so simple. And, you know, you can't really go wrong. It's fast and it's easy. You know, you just stick everything in the crock pot, and if you have leftovers, they'll last for days. And it's elegant. It's better than eating at some 4-star restaurants I've been to. I mean, just the meat comes out amazing, especially if you go to a good butcher and you get a really nice cut of roast, like a shoulder cut that's nice and big and juicy. And I didn't get that. I got the sirloin cut just because I have a smaller crock pot. And I'm only cutting off the potato parts that are a little dirtier or have the eyes in them. That might not be so good to eat, you know. So anyways, what I was saying about the roast. If you have a good butcher, go to your butcher and get a really nice cut of meat. But if you don't, and you're just going to Safeway and you have a smaller meal like me, you can go ahead and get the sirloin roast, because that's what I got. The smaller cuts. But the shoulder roast, it really is better meat. It's more meaty. There's less fat on it, I guess. I mean, it's still very marbled, but I guess, you know, it's more red. It's less real pinky kind of meat. Just, it probably gets more circulation, being the shoulder. Cow probably uses his shoulder more than his rump. Probably, you know, just healthier, better for you. So I would recommend going with a cut of meat like that. But I didn't have a big enough crock pot for that. And I'm not feeding enough people for all of that. So, I mean, I could have maybe tried to squeeze it in there, but that just would have been a lot of work and probably too much meat, and it would have taken hours and hours to cook. And you don't even have to add water to the crock pot when you're making this recipe, because it is there's so much water in the veggies that they'll soak up and steam themselves. You don't have to worry about, you know, oh, are my veggies going to cook, and what if they don't cook, and drama like that. You just don't even have to worry about it with the crock pot, because it'll steam up and there'll be juice and fluid in the meat too that'll run right over the veggies, and it'll soak up all the flavors. And the rub is just really amazing with the ranch dressing rub. And it's quick and easy to make. I could make this every day. I mean, it is so good. And usually, I don't usually make it because it's just me, and well, I really like cooking for people. I have a lot of pleasure in that, and I know I'm a really good cook. So, as you can see on my other cooking videos, usually what I make for myself are more like smoothies or eggs for breakfast, something I have, you know, adequate time to make in the morning. But I also love making fried chicken. Oh, I would love to make a video on the fried chicken. My friend Joanna's homemade southern recipe. It is truly amazing, and the fried chicken is just to die for. But, you know, when you make fried chicken, you get so much, and it's not the best reheated. I mean, you can reheat it and eat it later, but it's not the best. And as you can see now, we are chopping up these potatoes. I think like a cubed inch is good. You know, they don't need to be super tiny or anything. They're gonna have a lot of flavor, and they're gonna be drenched in gravy and sauce anyways as it is. And I've got so much potato, and it's all gonna shrink. You know, all this food is gonna shrink, so it might look like, oh no, I've got too much in there, I'm not gonna be able to fit it. But it's all gonna cook down and it'll shrink. Like right now, it just looks like I don't know how I'm gonna fit the rest of these potatoes in there. But they should fit just fine. They'll shrink, and as they get softer, ooh, potato rolling away. I really do love this knife. If you could see how good it cuts, I don't know if you can see, but it is just super fast, and it works really well. And it gives a nice clean cut. Woo! I could have just taken out my finger there. I think I went to cooking school. Well, not really. I didn't finish, but I'm a good cook, and I know how to not chop my fingers off while moving fast in the kitchen. Let's see, I've got a lot of potatoes. I'm gonna go ahead and put some more of these in my crock pot. Now, my crock pot is almost full. Now, this is not good because I've got a huge, I've got a huge roast to put in there too. And I need to be putting some of this ranch mix over it. So this is a powdered ranch mix. I'm just gonna go ahead and pour it in there and move all this stuff around. I'm gonna just get in there with my hands and really love on this food. Yum. Oh, and it smells just amazing. The spices and seasoning are just perfect in this ranch blend. And they just make it come out just amazing. I can't even describe the flavor. It's the perfect blend of tangy and delicious. And the veggies just soak it up. My hand just smells like I could eat my hand right now. Gotta wash my hand really quick. We've got so much ranch stuff on it, which is... So this thing is heating up. These potatoes and veggies in there. I'm really hoping I can fit these last few potatoes in there, because this is going to be great to eat for days, and the longer you keep it, the more it absorbs the flavor, the better it tastes. I'm sorry I don't have a better camera angle. I didn't really plan on videotaping myself cooking today, but you know what? I love to talk, and I love being in front of camera, and why not, right? Why not? It's always great to make YouTube videos. I love getting out good recipes. This is one of my favorite recipes of all time. And it's fast and easy, especially because the crock pot does the majority of the cooking. And long as I can get the lid on, hopefully I'll be able to get the lid on. And your house will just smell amazing when this is done. Oh, while this is cooking, oh my gosh. Your house is just going to smell and smell and smell so good. Like a delicious roast, and everybody's going to be like, is it done yet? Is it done yet? I'm hungry, I'm hungry. Because that is how good this meal is. I'm not even kidding you. And it just smells amazing. So I'm going to let these, I got the crock pot on high that I've been cooking these veggies in here. And just, you know, they won't burn, but just so they don't, I'm going to put a little tad bit of water in the bottom. Just so there's, you know, lubricant down there or something. Still got a little bit of that ranch on me. Now I used 1 packet of ranch already. What I'm going to do now, go ahead and, now this is the gravy I got, but homemade gravy, always better. But of course, you need to be cooking the roast or something to make the homemade gravy. This meal is also good with rolls. I usually make rolls with it. Like yeast rolls. Yeast rolls are so tasty and they're really good. But like I said, it's just me eating, so I'm not going to make a bunch of baked rolls and corn and all that other stuff. But it is really good. And on to the roast. Like I said, I got the biggest one I could. I don't know why, because I don't know, I'll probably be eating it for the next 4 days. But it is a sirloin roast. Oh no, it's a pork sirloin roast. I wanted beef. Oh dear, that is such a bummer. I wanted beef roast. Well, that is why it is so pink. Well, that's alright. I guess we're having pork instead of beef. Well, I made beef gravy too. Oh well. Oops, I've never made it with pork. Now I'll get to try it with pork now. I'm gonna cut this roast up in half. Cause I don't know, it's just really big and got some connective tissue and tendon here. I think I could cut off some of this big stuff and this fatty stuff. Don't need all that fatty fat. I'm just not a big fat person. Now the beef one did actually have a lot more fat. And the beef ones were all so big they wouldn't have fit in my crock pot. But I was planning on making it with the beef and roast, and it is very tasty with the beef. I have no idea how it's going to taste with the pork, so hopefully it's not an utter failure. This is a beef recipe, but I'm sure it will taste just as good. Pork tends to get drier, but you know what? I don't think it will while it's in a crock pot, honestly. And usually pork roasts can come out pretty juicy if you cook them right. In the crock pot it should be fine. I'm just worried about connective or fatty tissues that are going to be tough and difficult to cook or just take a really long time. But it is very good with a beef roast. Next time I am making it with a beef roast. That's what I was craving. But I can eat it like this too. It'll be just as good. Now I want this meat to be as tender as possible. So I'm really getting in here with my hands, pulling it apart, getting all that muscle apart, getting into the connective tissue. Roasts are really fatty usually. This is a sirloin roast, like I said, pork sirloin. I thought it was a beef sirloin. I wondered, I was wondering when I was at the market, I thought that should be a lot red and it looks so pink, and that's why. It's pig, it's not cow. So, try not to make that mistake. Okay, good. We've got 3 distinct pieces. Some of it's darker meat and some of it's lighter meat. And I've got quite a good amount of the fat off and connective tissue. There's a big tendon in here. I'm not fond of tendons. They are chewy, difficult. You can eat them, but there really is no benefit in eating a tendon, and they're a pain in the ass to chew. And so I'm going to work on cutting that piece out of my roast. And it's not too hard to get it out as long as you get most of the meat around it out. And then you just have, fatty around it, but then you don't have the tendon. The tendons are really, really chewy and hard to eat. Just a pain in the ass altogether. Oh. Here I have a little bit of the bottom of that piece of tendon. I'm gonna cut that piece out too. And let's see what's going on with this piece. It's got a nice fatty piece there. We don't need that. Got some veins and stuff going on here. These seem pretty good. Oh, let's get rid of some of this stuff. You can get rid of some of this fatty tissue. The fat does bring out a lot of flavor and stuff, but then a lot of this is like veins and tendons and not yummy stuff. And so I personally like to get it out of the meat. And right now, while I'm doing this, the vegetables are getting a head start on cooking, which actually isn't necessarily, they don't need a head start, that's for sure. They're vegetables. They'll cook a lot faster. But this meat is going to be super duper tender now, especially because I've played with it so much. And I plan on beating it up with the meat tenderizer, which is like a mallet or like a hammer you take to meat. I've also, played with it quite a bit. Your mother tells you never to play with your food, but honestly, sometimes it can really come in handy for you. Especially with tough pieces of meat like this. And that is not the doorbell, that's my phone. Now, if I had a meat cleaver, or if you have a meat cleaver at home, that is a very much easier tool for this kind of extraction of tendons and whatnot, because you can just slice and dice and chop. I think most of that's fatty tissue, at least I'm hoping it is, not connective tissue. Well, actually I think it is connective tissue because it's so hard to get over, but that's alright. Now, you always want to wash your hands after dealing with meat. There's going to be a lot of bad stuff in meat, viruses, whatever, but I'm not done dealing with the meat. I have got to tenderize it with our meat tenderizer. Great for taking out anger, especially when you're pissed off about anything. I've got all this meat right here. See? So great! Just get to beat the shit out of it. And it's rather fun. And it'll help it cook faster. Now I am really beating the shit out of this connective tissue part. And look, it just totally softened it up. And now I'll be able to cut it right out. That is awesome. Just with some regular scissors. Because that is really chewy. Your meat look any better. In fact, kind of makes it look like it's been ground. But honestly, it will absorb the flavor better, cook faster, and better. And it's more tender. I'm getting such a great workout. On my arm. And besides, nobody likes not tender pork. Chewy pork is not the way to go, folks. Or try pork. Now that I've beat my meat sufficiently, I'm going to, whoops, sorry, that's just, woohoo! Anyways, excuse that bending overage on camera, it might have been a little much. And I've got to wash these scissors now. Don't want to contaminate anything. But now that I have sufficiently done that, I am going to stab the meat as well. Now when you stab the meat, you're giving it holes, and the holes where all the juices and gravy can cook through, and all your delicious flavors that you're gonna rub on can go through. And like I said, I usually do this with beef, so I usually don't feel I'll have much of a problem with tenderness anyways. But pork is much different. Now that I've sufficiently stabbed my meat. Very fun, especially if you're angry at someone and you want to imagine stabbing them. Just kidding, that's violent. Don't do that. But, just saying. Now we want to take our second package. Give that a little beating as well. Shake all the flavors down. We want to rub it into the meat. We want to rub it into our roast. Rub, 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 rub. I'm gonna flip it over and rub it all on the inside. Just all these seasonings, just let them get all in there really deep and delicious like. Rub it all around. Go on to the next piece. Rub it in. Rub it, dub it, dub it, dub. Just like you're rubbing your own body up in your tub. Of course, hopefully you'd have some soapy suds. This is going to be delicious. So tasty. I love a good meal. I'm a Cancer sign. It's very natural for me. Now any of this extra rub, I'm going to go ahead and put right over the rest of these veggies. Which will hopefully start sinking down soon, so I have more room. Looks like someone's really trying to get a hold of Lisa here today. This rub kind of stuck to my fingers, which is not what I wanted. I want it on the meat. But you know what? It is very much so on this meat. Now I'm putting the meat right on top of the vegetables. Let's get the rest of this rub on here. And being right on top of the vegetables, gonna give it nice flavor to the veggies. Now I gotta wash my hands again. Anytime when you're playing with meat, that is not the time for you to lick your fingers. That would be all bad. And I really like to have a nice cooking area, a clean area. So I'm going to clean up and then I'm going to look around my kitchen, see if I splattered anything, any meat anywhere, any veggies anywhere. I'm definitely going to clean this board off, and now that I've got that, I'm going to take a picture before I put the gravy all over. Not take a picture, but bring you over there. First, you want to have a clean area. Oh, this is the wrong one. Green works. Go green. I'll put a little on this too. This is all natural. It is done by Crock, which we don't like to support big companies, but it is made locally in the Bay Area, so that's a plus. We do like to support our local economy. And we've got the meat. And I'll get another paper towel here. Get all the bacteria up. You never know, you know, there's just bad bacteria in meats and rotting flesh or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. It's just important to keep a sanitary house and keep everything clean. Whew, out of hot water. Hot water. Okay, now I'd like you to come take a look at this crock pot, the meal we have made. Look at that meat. Oh, so good in there. It's nice. It's been poked holes in it. It's tenderized. Underneath it is a buttload of carrots and assorted potatoes. And last but not least, I'm going to put in my gravy. See if I can make that stay. Stay! Well, we're going to put in the gravy. We're just going to pour it right over everything. And that's going to drizzle down and ooze down. And then probably about halfway through, I'll pour in the second thing of gravy. So I'm going to let this cook down for a little bit. Put this lid on, which it is fitting just perfectly, exactly perfectly. See how it all fit perfectly? It's just the perfect amount. Now I've got this thing on high, so it should be cooking the crap out of all that stuff. So, and now I'm going to do the dishes, clean up and wait. Start smelling it. It's going to smell really good, and I'm going to eat it, and it's going to be amazing, and you're going to wish that you were here eating it with me. Alrighty, good job learning that recipe. Remember, you have the gravy, 2 things of the gravy. I got 2 things of the ranch powder dressing. Got the roast, beef or pork, I guess. And any kind of veggies you want to throw in there, your preference. Cut up the veggies, put them in on the bottom, put some of the seasonings over them, and then you go ahead and get that roast ready, however you like it, if you like less meat or no tendons or whatnot, and then stab a few holes in it, tenderize it, beat the crap out of that meat, and then put it in there with some more rub on it, and put the gravy over it, let it cook, and this is so good. Bye!